Hello my friends, Sylvie Curry, Lady of Q. And once again I'm in my kitchen. Today I'm going to be doing something which is a labor of love. I'm going to be making some canned tangerine wedges or segments. Now one of the things that's involved in this is a very tedious process of removing as much of the stringy stuff off the segments and the pith. And if you're going to do this, you've got to be able to sit down or stand, whatever makes you comfortable, relax, put yourself in a zen, and just start to doing the processing. I'm going to take you through a quick review of what I'm going to do. Stand by. These tangerines came off of one of our trees here at home, and I can certify that they are organic. There are no pesticides that were administered or put on them. They just grew. My hubby went out and pulled them a couple of days ago, and I washed them off just to get some of the grit and grime from every day sitting out on a tree. To start, we're going to just peel them. I'm not going to save any of the peel on these because there's not really much that I can do with it. And let me confess, I also have a whole big bucket full of oranges and lemons, and so I have enough skins and stuff that I can use for other projects that I might want to do. Now you can see from peeling this, they actually peel very easy. And there's a lot of that white pith all over them. That's bitter. So you want to get as much of that off as possible. I'm sure that if I didn't have these gloves on, it'd be much easier to get off. But also, you can also tell by the color on the gloves. I've peeled only 2 other ones, and they're pretty yellow, and I didn't want that yellow on my hands. Plus, it dries out your hands. So I pulled some of the stringy stuff off, and I find that it's easier to have a paper towel or something handy so you can just wipe your hand on it and get that off. Now if I were in my normal zen, I would just be quietly pulling off these little strands. And separating them into wedges. Now the question you may have is, well, why didn't I just cut them and put them in the jars to can? And that's because presentation-wise, I want to make sure that they look nice. Now they're not going to be like your canned tangerines or mandarins that you get in the grocery store, because there's no way for me to get this skin off without some specific chemical type processes, which I don't want to use. So I'm just pulling all that pith off. When we come back, I'll have most of this already done. I'm not going to bore you with my standing here pulling off pith off of a mandarin, oranges, or a tangerine. Okay, I'm down to my last tangerine, and my hands are pretty yellow and sticky. And as I mentioned before, this is a labor of love. Every single one of those segments have been touched by these hands, and painstakingly I pulled off all these little strings. I won't say all, but a good portion of them. And you say, how will you know whether or not you've got enough pulled off? Depends on you, what you want to eat. The major determiner what you want to eat, and if you want a presentation that looks nice. Because these wedges are going to go in things like salads. I love to make a spring salad with wedges of these tangerines in it, green onions, tomatoes, cucumbers. I may even put in there something like sliced boiled eggs. So as I get through these last ones, my next step is going to be to put them in jars. I think I'm going to use half pints. If you hear that noise in the background, that's the sound of my dishwasher. I have my jars in there going through the sanitation cycle. And I'm doing also some jars for when I do some marmalades, which is going to be my next project with my oranges. So it's not just running a dishwasher for 3 or 4 jars in there. You can see how much work this has been. This is probably about my 3rd or 4th paper towel that I've gone through pulling off this pith. These little strings that are on there. Sometimes they're easy to grab, sometimes they aren't. And I'd rather leave it on than to tear up the segment. And here now at countdown. And this is my last one. So I'll be back with the jars in our next process in getting these canned. In canning these tangerine segments, I've got everything that I need laid out. I've got my canning jars, which just went through the sanitization cycle in my dishwasher. I have my little plunger so I can get any air bubbles out of the jars once I put the wedges and the liquid in it. They're my tangerines. I've got my lids, and I'm going to just put those in some hot water before I place them on the jars. And I've got some Welch's white grape juice. And instead of using simple syrup for my liquid, I'm going to use this white grape juice. It's sweet, not as sweet as a simple syrup, but it's sweet, and I think it'll add another level of flavor. I've got my WaterBath heating up, boiling, and I've got my pot ready to put my grape juice in there. I started filling my jars with the segments, and I think they look very nice in these jars. Goes for a nice presentation. I want to maintain their structure. Okay. I have my white grape juice boiling. My next step is going to be to pour the boiled grape juice into the jars, top them off, and put them in the water bath. I've got my white grape juice, just came off a boil, and I'm going to pour it into the jars, and I'm going to come within a 1/4 inch of the top of the lid. You don't want to overfill it. That's almost exact. I think I'm going to boil a little bit more and top off some of these jars, because not all of them are up to a 1/4 inch of the lid. I boiled a little bit more of the white grape juice, and I'm going to top off some of these a little bit more. Ooh, steam. Okay. The next step is to make sure I don't have any air bubbles in there, so they come to the top, so I make sure that I have liquid surrounding every wedge in there. Then I'm going to take my paper towel, clean up the top of these jars. That's to ensure that there's no sugary liquid on the outside, which would prevent a proper seal of my lids. I now have my lids, which I did put in hot water. And that was mainly to warm up that little layer of latex or rubber that's on the outer edge. And then put the bands on. The bands are primarily to keep the lids in place. And now they're ready to go in the water bath. This is the look prior to putting in the water bath. Don't they look gorgeous? Can't you just imagine a few months from now when these are out of season, I'll still have some to make my salads? Okay, here we go. And you want to have enough water in this water bath so that once all the lids are in there, the water level comes up above the lids. And I think I may have to put a little bit more water in there in order to get it up above this big jar here. No problem. I added more water so that it would cover the pint jar. I put the lid back on, and I'm going to wait for this to come back up to boiling. Once it reaches a boil, then I can start the timer for a 15-minute cook. This is not pressure canning. This is just plain water bath canning, as I don't have any meats or anything like that. This is citrus. So I'll come back and show you my next step after we reach that 15-minute on a boil canning process. Well, we reached the end of our 15-minute cook, and I'm going to take out our wedges. Wow, they're looking good. Looking good, good, good. And we'll leave them on this towel so we can hear that pop when they seal. Here we have tangerine segments or wedges that were canned today. I water canned them. It's a combination of tangerine wedges and a white grape juice. These tangerines were picked fresh off of our tree here on our property. I'll call them Sylvie Certified Organic. They'll be ready to be used whenever, in whatever recipe that I choose, typically something like a salad, or maybe with chicken. The juice is also going to be very, very flavorful and add a lot to cooking. Cooking of whatever protein that I have, fish, chicken. They are adequately sealed at this time, so we're good to go. This was a labor of love. Every jar has my passion in it. Every wedge has been touched by me. I peeled all the pith off of each one of those wedges, and I'm very proud of that. Whoever gets to indulge in this treat is going to be very lucky. We just finished canning some tangerine wedges or segments. Pretty hot in here, you can see why, because of the steam coming off my water bath. It's a pretty hot day here in San Diego County. Anyway, hope you enjoy my video. Hope you come back again, like, share, tell a friend. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy presenting these things to you. Thank you very much for supporting me. Sylvie Curry, Lady of Q. Bye-bye.